Well guys, as you can see, putting a protection on a tree and not having any protection makes a pretty big difference. I'll tell you what, if it doesn't have a tree guard on it, it probably doesn't have any bark left on it. That's pretty much what they've been doing to it. They've been out here about 2 or 3 weeks now and still got plenty of grass, but we kind of moved them around. Let's go up by the barn. I want to show you a little bit what I've been doing, changing around on some pastures. I got a couple things we're going to talk about, start thinking about next fall already. All right, well, I've had the sheep out here for about 2 weeks now. This is the last pasture I fenced in. Told you I was going to move them there. Probably moved them a little sooner, but then again, we haven't had much rain, so that's part of the reason why. But my original 3 pastures are starting to kind of grow back in pretty good. As you can see, instead of the main pasture, I've got them down there. And the main reason for that is, well, let's go back over here and I'll show you. This is the fence that I put in so I could start using this pasture. And this was going to be a buffer zone. My son-in-law's rams are all right over there. And we wanted a buffer zone between the rams and the ewes, so there's nobody trying to go over fences like this or having any problems with that. So I put mine out here for about 2 weeks. That was fine. And I let those pastures grow a little bit. And I told him, okay, we're to the point I could bring them back here and rotate them around a little bit. And by doing that, it allowed him to put his rams out here. And as you can see by the trees, the rams have been having a good time here. They've been out here about 4 or 5 days now. So what we're doing, I started out way at the far pasture where they're at now. I put them in there for a day. I bring them in at night. Then I moved them to the middle pasture. They spent a day there. Now yesterday I put them out here, and that's the closest pasture to the rams. So they all went out. They were having a good time. Little ones like to run around. Everybody hit out the grain graze first thing in the morning. And when I did that, all of a sudden I got the attention of all the rams. So they came up to the fence, but nobody got real close. They kind of kept an eye on them and wanted to see what was going out, but after that they kind of went the other direction. They went off eating grass, and that was the end of that. So that worked out pretty good. Today we're back to the first pasture again. Tomorrow I'll move up to the next one, next day to the next one, and then after that we're going to see. That's 6 days. They might have this pretty eaten by then, or we might rotate them one more time and give him 9 days, and he can put the rams out here for 9 days. They can get plenty of grass. They can eat this down. By that time, I'll stick mine back out here again, let this grass grow back up, and let that sit for a few weeks, and then maybe we'll do it again. So that's kind of what we're doing, rotating around a little bit, giving everybody some new grass to get into. I tell you, a little bit of rain sure wouldn't hurt us, but we're getting to that time of year. I don't know if we're going to see that much of that anymore. Is it too early to think about fall? I don't think it is. I got a couple things I want to talk to you about on that. And we're going to move around again because I got something I need to show you. So stick with me. All right. For me, in the fall, starting to think about feeding in the fall. I buy round bales. And I buy alfalfa, and I will continue to use the round bales. But my daughter kind of got me onto something. I want to show it to you because especially if you're, I got a big tractor and my son-in-law's got a bobcat and we can handle 2,000-pound round bales, but you might not be in that position and you're buying small square bales of hay. So depending what part of the country you're in, alfalfa can get pretty pricey. Sometimes you can't even find it. And even here, right where they grow alfalfa, I know last year I think decent bale of alfalfa was like $8 or something like that for a small square bale. So my daughter uses with her goats round bales, as I do, with the sheep my son-in-law does. But she came up with something different, and I thought it might be worth looking at. This is, what do they call it? Alpha hay? Alpha hay. And basically it looks like it's by the Honey Creek Company. Probiotic alfalfa in a bag. These bags weigh 50 pounds, and protein level as fed, it says 9%. In dry form, 22%. Now, I'm not 100% sure exactly what that means, to be honest with you. I'm going to have to look into it more, but I got a bag from her to try it. And I'll tell you what, it's like silage. I'll tell you, if you can smell that stuff, if you can smell it through a camera, man, that reminds me of the old days, chopping alfalfa and having alfalfa silage. I would assume these big white plastic bags where they blow stuff in on a big commercial basis is probably the same thing, because it's definitely, there's moisture there. It's got moisture to it. You can smell it. A 50-pound bag like this, depending what part of the country you're in, I don't know. It could run $10, $12 depending on the guy that's selling it, whether it's $10 or whatever. I'm not going to get too much price. My daughter's actually a dealer, so I get a little better price than some people would. And you might say, well, 10 bucks a bag for a 50-pound bag. But you know, if a bale of alfalfa is running 8 bucks, and I don't know, 70-pound bale, maybe something like that. But this stuff, I'm finding they're eating it all. And in the alfalfa, a lot of times the stems, they won't eat the stems. So what I've been doing at night, for me, late in the afternoon, I throw some grain out for mine. So what I'll do is after supper, maybe for now, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, something like that, I'll come out and I'll take some of this and I put it in the trough where I feed them their grain. Now, first night, scared them to death. They had no idea what that stuff was in there. Sheep are real interesting, I gotta admit. But by morning, they'd clean it all up. And what I've done is I took out of here, I filled up a 5-gallon bucket full, almost full. Now, I've done that 2 nights in a row. As you can see, this thing's still pretty full. There ain't 50 pounds anymore, but I don't think I've taken more than 10 or 12 pounds out. Now, I'm just giving them something because I want to see if they'll eat it, and I'm locking them in at night. So I figured this would be an opportunity to see, are they going to eat this or aren't? And they do. Matter of fact, the lambs like it. The young lambs are about a month old. They like it more than the older ewes do. But the key that I've found after 2 nights is they're eating it all. There isn't any waste. So if I'm paying 8 bucks for a 60-pound bale of alfalfa, and I got a lot of stems they're not eating, especially which cutting you're buying, but if they're eating 100% of this, is it really that much costing that much more? I'm getting everything out of this. They're getting 50 pounds out of this. I don't know what they're getting out of a 60-pound bale by the time I take all the stems and I throw those away. So maybe it's not really that high priced, even if you're paying $10 or $11 a bag. I don't know, but I thought Alpha Hay by Honey Creek, take a look, check it out, see if you can find it locally. It might be worth looking at. I'm not gonna say I recommend it yet because I've only thrown this out for the last 2 nights, but they are eating it and they're not wasting any. So I don't know, might be something to look at. Like I said, it's a long way to fall, but hey, and then again, maybe you're in the summer, you're feeding year round. You don't have all the grass to graze, so you got to feed some hay year round. That might be a little high price to be feeding year round. I think I'll probably get some of this, not for my ewes, but if I lock some in, if I got some babies, I lock some in with babies for, you know, if I know she's going to lamb and I want to lock her in a small pen, let her lamb inside instead of outside, depending on the weather. I might have a few bags of this just so I can feed them this inside. And then when they're all out in the big group, they're going to go off the round bale. So thought I'd mention it. Might be something to look at. I know I'm going to look into this more, but so far they do eat it. So that's the main thing. Now, one other thing, fall. Long way to think about breeding, isn't it already? But I've already started. Showed you all the rams my son-in-law has. He has 2 black belly rams that he got right at the start, back when I got mine about a year ago now. So these rams are probably, might be just 2 years old. We don't even know we bought them in an auction, but looking at what they look like when we bought them compared to today. First one here, we call Blondie, a little light colored. Got the black one, I like this black one, I like the black horns on that one. But the other one we call Red. Now Red, about the same age as Blondie, they're about the same, but I like the horns on Red a little bit better than I do on Blondie. So here's what I'm already thinking about doing for next fall. I'm going to split my flock. I'm going to take my Mouflon ewes. I'm going to breed them to my Mouflon ram. And I'll have regular plain Mouflons. It won't be a cross then. And I'm going to take all my black belly ewes, and I think I'm going to breed them to red. And that way I will have black belly lambs, I will have Mouflon lambs. Instead of crossing them, I'm going to have the two because I like him. I think I have a picture of his sire. If I do, I'll post it right now. And if I don't, you ain't seeing anything but me right now. But I think I have a picture of his sire. I don't know how old he was. They sold him at auction, that same auction. The lady had 40 head and sold them all. They all went to this auction. I bought 4 ewes. My son-in-law bought the 2 rams, the young rams. He bought Red and Blondie there. Blondie, I don't think Blondie came from that. I think that one came from somewhere else. But I do believe, you know, that was his sire, and that was probably the herd ram. So that was a decent sized ram. He's looking pretty good for maybe just a couple years old. So I'm already thinking for fall. Split them up. Let's go Mouflons here. Let's go black bellies here. I'll have 3 pins come fall. I have my 5 ewes, lambs. They're only a month old now. I will separate them. My son-in-law has 1 small paint ewe lamb. That'll be too young to breed. We'll catch that one in the fall and bring it down and put it in with mine. So I will take 1 pin with my black bellies and a ram, 1 pin with my small ewes that'll just be 3 or 4 months old at that time, and then 1 pin with my Mouflons. The reason I'm setting them that way too, the 2 rams will have a pin in between them, a buffer zone, so you don't have a ram on either side of the fence, so they're not fighting through the fence. And I don't want the black belly ram to get start seeing a Mouflon ram on the other side of the fence, and he starts thinking about that one instead when he should be thinking about one on his side of the fence. So by putting some space between them, I think we'll solve that problem too. But we'll get into more of that as we get closer to fall. Anyway, that's what we're thinking of doing. Change the breeding program slightly. Let's go 2 ways with it. Use that ram as long as that one's here and I can use it. And I thought I'd mention this to you so you can take a look at this. See if something like that'll work for you. I'm not sure if it's going to work for me, but something I'm going to try. I thought I'd pass it along to you guys. Hey, thanks for sticking with me. Subscribe to the channel if you would. Hope to see you again real soon.